People from abroad who have experienced living in Japan occasionally describe it with phrases like fluffy bunny land. Cuteness is everywhere. In supermarkets, restaurants, railway stations, hospitals, and local government offices. Kawaii is probably one of the first Japanese words that non-native speakers learn. It is almost certainly one of the most frequently used expressions by native speakers, who never miss an opportunity to exclaim that someone or something is pretty, charming, vulnerable, shy, and childlike. It is perhaps the most overused word when paying a compliment to a woman. However, until quite recently, it was considered rude to describe an adult woman as kawaii, because the origin of the word, kawayushi, referred to a feeling of sympathy for someone's misfortune. Over time, the meaning gradually changed, but it was only in the late 19th century that it began to be used in the way it is today. Girls, who are known as shoujo, contribute to it becoming an everyday word. As their popularity increased, it came to refer to girls in general, from the age of 6 to 18. Manga fans will probably recognize the word shoujo, which is now used to describe stories aimed at young female readers. But who were the original shoujo girls? In the Meiji period, 1868 to 1912, Japan was supposed to open up to the world, and was exposed to Western culture, systems, and technology, leading rapid modernization. The government considered it's important to raise the intellectual capacity of the population, and set about transforming the school system. Although they initially encouraged local authorities to give equal educational opportunities to boys and girls, gradually the elite began to argue that education was not necessary for women, whose national duty was to be good wives and mothers. Soon, the secondary and higher education systems became more exclusively for boys. Girls' education was reorganized by a new law, with the aim of ensuring that they fulfilled their national duty, rather than aim to achieve the same success in life as boys. As a result, only the daughters of wealthy families could access a limited form of higher education after elementary school. They became known as shoujo, distinguishing them from boys who are referred to as shounen. The Meiji government set out principles to highlight the necessity of higher education for this selected group of shoujo girls. Learning about chastity and fidelity, rooted in the Confucian ideals of obedience and loyalty towards husband, became the core of the school curriculum. Recent history offers us many examples of countries that find comforting regressive ideas from the past when faced with a shocking crisis. For Japan's proud samurai rulers, the overwhelming power of the West's gunboat diplomacy must have been deeply emasculating. Perhaps this is why shoujohood became a comforting symbol of this new, very uncertain era. Although magazines were a major source of entertainment for children at the time. The government made clear that they should play a role in delivering extracurricular education. They built numerous libraries in major cities to support leading publishers. The aim was to focus the imagination of children on a singular mission, preparing them for their adult roles in the empire. Girls' magazines set up principles from how to think, how to behave, and what to wear, as part of this new shoujo culture. In girls' magazines, illustrators play the most important role. Junichi Nakahara was one of the most popular artists. From the 1930s until the 1960s. Despite a certain amount of initial opposition, Japan had been modernizing steadily throughout the 19th century. Then in 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake, the strongest earthquake in Japanese history, delivered another shocking blow. Perhaps then, it is no accident that in 1924, the Japanese government introduced the familiar sailor outfit as the national uniform for schoolgirls, who had previously worn unrevealing kimonos. Nakahara began his career just a few years later, as the Great Depression was starting to have global impact. And by 1945, the devastating nuclear climax to the defeat of those imperial ambitions that children had been raised to serve, delivered another calamitous blow to the national sense of identity. It is against this backdrop that Nakahara found fame with his cute, deeply reassuring images. Nakahara's illustrations were inspired by French lyric dolls and immediately grabbed young girls' hearts. Soon after, he became heavily involved in a production of popular magazines, not only as the illustrator, but also as the editor and content planner. He opened his own variety store, selling purses and postcards based on his illustrations, which became a status symbol for shoujo girls. His wide-eyed visual style reflected his firm belief that girlhood was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to relish a sense of personal purity, which he considered the most precious and beautiful moments in a woman's life. In the introduction to his best-selling fashion manual, he wrote, "Shoujo should not be cynical. She must be honest, innocent, and never vulgar. She must always be elegant, pure, correct, beautiful, precious, and lovely in every way." Magazine editors-in-chief agreed with him. They praised his illustrations as monosexual, perfect, and complete images of modern, beautiful, pure, sexless girls. At that time, the connection between editors and readers was quite strong. They frequently interacted with each other through contribution columns or special events. They were seen as honorable, highly successful adult men who understood and protected the pure hearts of shoujo girls from the impure thoughts of other adults. They enthusiastically educated young girls to embody the essence of Kawaiiらしさ or girlishness. This expression derived from Kawaii means adorable, charming, or cute looking due to their purity. During the Second World War, the government banned using Nakahara's illustrations in magazines, having decided that they were unsuitable during a period of conflict. Magazine sales declined massively, prompting Nakahara to set up his own publish company and publish his best-selling fashion manual. After the war, he launched 2 magazines, one for girls and one for grown-up women. They quickly became Bibles for female readers of all ages. He introduced Paris haute couture to adult women, and emerging teenage fashions from the US to young girls. This served the government's urgent aim of creating new markets to revive the economy. As in the US, teenagers emerged as important new customer target. And in 1952, a new law specified that teen size should be added to the labeling of clothes for all the girls. Nakahara continued to be active in a variety of fields, including magazine, illustration, editing, fashion design, and store management, until the mid-1950s. Today, Kawaii culture has spread far beyond the world of girls' magazines. It has become the dominant aesthetic in many different aspects of contemporary Japanese life. A significant number of adult women adopt a childlike persona that goes far beyond the coquettish playfulness of Marilyn Monroe, because it buys them certain advantages, both socially and in the workplace. At the opposite extreme, some men, known as moeke, invest huge amounts of money and attention in merchandise featuring cute cartoon characters that combine childlike qualities with outsized breasts. Teenage Lolita fashions are promoted as part of the Ministry of Culture's efforts to export cool Japan. And no self-respecting organization, including local government offices and police forces, failed to follow every major brand in having a cute cartoon mascot. Whether or not there is conscious recognition of the debt that contemporary Kawaii culture owes to Nakahara, in a country where preserving harmony adopts the stresses and strains of modern life, there is certainly a lingering sense that the purity of childlike imagery and behavior is both form of release and reflex antidote to any risk of causing offense. Whether or not Confucius would approve, who can say? Next time, we'll explore how cuteness has spread to every area of contemporary Japanese life.